Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our second Machine Learning for Beginners live stream. Now, this is a live stream, we're covering some great machine learning content, but this is a conversation. We want to have a conversation with you. We want you to jump in the chat, tell us about yourself, ask us questions, and we're here to answer. The purpose of today's stream is very much a Q&A, so we want to answer your questions. Now, obviously, because of this, we need to make sure you follow our code of conduct. So any questions you ask, you have to follow the Microsoft Reactor code of conduct. We're going to get this dropped in the chat, get it pinned to the chat so you know what it is. Basically, be nice, be kind, be fun, don't be a jerk. And with that, welcome to Machine Learning for Beginners, our second episode for our Q&A. So if you've been involved in the series before, you'll know we released a whole load of machine learning videos earlier this week. Say a whole load, we released 4 of them. They came out this week. We did a live stream yesterday where we started to work through the content. Today, we're going to work through it a bit more, do some Q&A, more videos next week, more live streams, and more the week after. So that's what we're doing. And I'm super excited. Once again, I'm joined by Bea Stollnitz, an absolute genius in the world of machine learning. So Bea, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. So my name is Bea Stollnitz, and I'm a principal advocate at Microsoft focusing on AI, and I'm super excited to be here again.
Awesome. Awesome. Welcome. Welcome. Now, for those who haven't caught the videos, I'm just going to drop a link in the chat to the video series that we released at the start of the week. If I can type. I say I can type it. Did I type the right link? Did I type the right link? It's been one of those mornings this morning. Yes, I typed the right link. So I just dropped in the chat. So on Monday, we released these 4 videos where we cover kind of introduction to machine learning, history, techniques, and getting your machine ready. As I said, next week we are doing 5 videos, should be going live Monday morning. And then we've got more live streams next week, more videos the week after, more live streams. So this week's all about introductions. Next week, we get our hands dirty with some regression, and then more getting coding hands-on the weeks after that.
Yeah.
Now, as mentioned, this is a conversation. So we want you to jump in the chat, say hello, and ask us your questions. We're here to answer the questions you've got. Sudhanshu already says hello. So hey, Sudhanshu, glad to have you here. Dion Wilson Dev says hello, everybody. Hey, Dion, glad to have you here with us as well. Now, one thing that was really cool last week is
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Is a lot of folks jump to the chat, just introduce themselves. So please jump in the chat, introduce yourselves. Let us know whether you came along to the session yesterday, and let us know what stage you're at with your machine learning journey. You know, we're here to help you and support you. So we'd love to know whether you're a complete noob or you're an expert. Please let us know. Darius says, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Just for you is with us again from Baltimore.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Glad to have you here. JJ from Bellevue.
Well, that's right here.
Yeah, right between us.
We're neighbors.
Yeah, literally, we almost form a JJ sandwich. I'm
exactly.
in Seattle and JJ in the middle of Bellevue.
That's right. We are the JJ sandwich.
We are the JJ
That's
sandwich.
what we're going to be calling ourselves from now on. You and I, the JJ sandwich team.
Oh, today's going to be a great day. Yay. Awesome. We got Patrick from Tampa in Florida on the other coast. Nice. Pablo Cesar says, good day. Alex Riviera Drums joining us again from St. Louis.
Nice.
Is it St. Louis or St. Louis?
St. Louis, I think.
St. Louis.
Right, Alex?
Yeah, Alex. Yeah, let us know. I'm used to Louis as the French name. Obviously the silent S. So yeah. Marco from Miami again. Yep, glad to have you here. So JJ says, just finished the Microsoft Data Analytics and also master. Sorry.
Yeah, very nice.
MS.
Awesome.
Internally, MS is just Microsoft. So I'm guessing that's a master's degree. So a master's in data analytics and a master's in computer science.
Cool. You should have no problem keeping up. Yeah, you should have no problem keeping up with the material, JJ. Nice. It'll be easy for you.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? About how just you only need some basic maths and the ability to call some libraries, but if you've got advanced maths, and there's a lot more understanding you'll have, a lot more cool stuff you better do.
Yeah, totally.
So Hansu's just beginning their journey.
Perfect. You're in the right place.
Yeah, we are for beginners after all.
We are.
Pablo joined us from Toronto. Aldo's again is in Miami. Rahul from Philly joined us again.
Yeah. Hi, Rahul.
More
Toronto.
Yeah. So I'm feeling a lot of Canada love. Normally we get a lot of folks from Europe when I do the streams this coming day, but I'm feeling a lot of Canada love here, which is
well, it's a Friday evening in Europe. I think people are out partying right now. They're not going to be watching a technical video.
Yeah, why would you come and watch Jim when you could be out having a party?
Yeah.
Cool. So Mark says, I would say I'm new, but I've done some related work resembling ML.
Okay. You're also in the right place.
Yeah. Hopefully this will tie back to kind of stuff you know. So but great to answer your questions around that. Quinn Sab joined us again from Virginia Beach. I'm a complete noob.
Awesome.
Welcome. So Alex says yes. I'm guessing that's yes to St. Louis.
Right. I think so.
Cool. Raoul saying hello again. Yeah. Yes. Alex says St. Louis. MO. MO is, where is MO? I've only been in the US for a few years. My US geography is terrible. Which state is MO?
Let's look it up.
Yeah, Mark says it's Lewis with the S. Yeah.
Missouri.
Yeah. MO is Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay. Today I learned. Thank you. Thank you for that. So there you go. We get machine learning and geography.
Yeah. All in one for free.
I have a 10-year-old who needs to learn this stuff for school next year. Kind of very big on states and state capitals. So I guess I should probably learn it with her. I know Washington and that's about it. Himyim says hello from Iceland.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Place I've never been, but I really want to visit. Have you been there, Bea?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite places I've been to. Really beautiful in terms of landscape and everything. Very nice people. Very friendly people.
Pictures I've seen look stunning.
Yeah.
So where I live near Seattle, and I was born in the UK, hence the amazing accent. There's a lot of you can do direct flights, but Iceland Air offer flights from London to Seattle, but you do a layover in Reykjavik.
Iceland.
Yeah, and you can actually extend your layover as much as you like for free because they're trying to obviously drive tourism. And I keep being tempted to do it, but I've never had the opportunity. So I should do it, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
J-Day's an ex-Microsoftie. Okay.
Oh, that's why you live in Bellevue. That makes sense.
Yeah. Sudansu saying hello from Odisha. Sheen's at Atlanta, Georgia. Media Renaissance is Michael from New York City. Dark Teal Glasses joins us again from Canada. Welcome. Edberto's here from Sao Paulo. Do you want to say hello in Portuguese again?
Olá. Olá, Edberto. Tudo bem?
So Alex confirms yes, MO is Missouri, and Tiki Cube has got Missouri because it's MO. Marek G from Poland with us back. Joe Thompson from Missouri, or maybe just confirming MO is Missouri. Marcio from Brazil. Darius is saying I'm new to ML.
Again.
Nice.
Yeah. And by the way, Odisha is in Eastern India. Eastern India. I just looked it up. I was curious.
Eastern India. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We are literally doing geography, aren't we?
Yeah.
We should build an ML model for where our audience come from.
Right.
Yeah, as Mark says, ML for GeoGuessr.
Like, pin them on the map as people are arriving. You know? Kind of cool.
Yeah, Media Nathan says you should learn the 50 Nifty United States songs. It helps you remember them all in alphabetical order. Okay, I've not heard of that, but I will look that up. Thank you. Probably go on for my 10-year-old. Yeah, Joe agrees. We could build something that would teach that. That can teach geography.
Yeah.
Edberto says I'm not going to try and pronounce that. So
he says that I should be producing content in Portuguese because there's a very large community. Edberto, I no longer speak Portuguese on a daily basis. There are other people on the team that I think do produce content in Portuguese. So it's a big team. But yeah, like we are always trying to produce content in different languages for sure.
So I actually have a colleague who's based in Sao Paulo, and does a lot of Portuguese content. So if you actually look on the Microsoft Reactor site, we can get a link to the Microsoft Reactor website dropped in the chat. But if you go there and search, you can. There we have a language option, and you should be able to choose Portuguese. In fact, if I just zip here, go back to Reactor, share my screen. So on the Reactor site, language. If we drop this down, we have Portuguese. Yep, links we can put in the chat. Thank you. So we have a lot of content in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
Cool. So Tulu says from New Jersey. Venkata is also from Missouri, St. Louis. Karina is from Portland, but they're Swedish. And is a business data analyst, data engineer, working on Microsoft SQL Server data warehousing since SQL Server 7. That's a long time ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Portland is awesome. I love Portland.
I've never been there. It's like a 2-hour drive south, isn't it?
It's a little longer than that, but it's so worth it. Yeah, all the food trucks.
Yeah, I hear the food is good. It's all about the food. And isn't there a guy who likes to unicycle around playing the bagpipes dressed as Darth Vader in a kilt or something?
I don't know. I don't know that. Maybe Karina can tell us if that's the case.
So Karina says, I see myself as a database person with a vast SQL experience, and it hasn't been working. And they moved from Europe a few years ago. I'd like to learn new skills, but to find an exciting job in the US. So you have an understanding of ML, but have no working experience. Well, Karina, you are in the right place, because obviously not only are we here to answer your questions, we're here to share great content, but Bea is an expert in this. So in terms of things like career advice, what to learn, what skills to build.
Should we start with that actually? I think, should we talk a little bit about career? Yeah. So I think that AI is a really good area to be in right now. It's easy to find a job comparatively with other areas, I would say. There's a lot of demand for this. So I think that it's a really good investment of your time if you're looking to get back into the work, to working basically. And there's many different kind of ways to get into it, right? But I think that so the way that I did it is I went back to grad school and I studied that. But that's not the most usual path. I work with a lot of people who have taken just classes online and who've learned it on their own, and then were able to kind of position themselves as AI people within Microsoft, right? So I think that the most important thing is really to learn these things and to really know them, and then to position yourself as an AI person, right? And once you get the first job in the area, then the second one is easy, right? It's just that transition that is a little bit harder sometimes, but there's so much demand, right? Right, Tim? Don't you think? You've transitioned to AI, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm now on an AI team. Admittedly, mine was by corporate reorg rather than choice. But yeah, I mean, there is a huge demand. I mean, literally across Microsoft, we're all being told, well, we've been told this for ages, actually, sprinkle some AI on everything we do. I mean, I joined the Microsoft Developer Relations team 5.5 years ago. And even back then, when we're just doing things like cognitive services, before OpenAI was really a thing that anyone had ever heard of, we were all being told, put a bit of AI into everything you do, because there's a huge demand for it. Whether you're just using the tools that have been built, whether you're using, all the pre-built stuff, or whether you're actually building the models yourself, there is a massive demand. We've kind of, you think a few hundred years ago, it was all about the Industrial Revolution, when how do you optimize production through automation? Kind of move from there to the digital revolution, where it's how do you optimize through code. We really kind of hit that AI revolution. It's how do we kind of optimize again through AI? Rather than, we used to have horses doing the drudge work, then we have machines doing the drudge work. Now the drudge work is information work, and we can get machines to do that through the power of AI. Totally. So it's, everything you do has got to have some AI in it. I mean, my wife, for example, is an elementary school teacher, and she's working with teachers who are looking at things like ChatGPT to help them do some of the drudge work. Not to do the hard stuff, but if you're building up, you want to do some research on something that's going to go into a lesson plan, or you want to try and work out how to rephrase something, bringing in multiple points. Rather than spending time yourself, you can just throw it at the AI, get the AI to do it, and then invest your time having a bigger impact in the areas where your expertise is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So,
I also like the other thing I recommend a lot for students, but I think not just for students, that's just for everybody, is when you're like starting out to apply to kind of make the transition, kind of apply for jobs in AI, if that's not the kinds of jobs you've been having in the past, is like have a really good portfolio of projects that you've done. So create like a really nice repo on GitHub that has like a link to, I don't know, 3 to 5 projects that you've done that you're proud of, like in machine learning, with little summaries, with images, something that makes it easy for a recruiter or even like a hiring manager to look at. And that kind of explains the techniques that you use and the packages that you use, that kind of positions you as like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I understand this stuff. And I think that's really like the best you can do if you're transitioning to the area and you don't have a past job that you can say, where you can say, I have experience with this. I think this is really like the really best thing you can give a hiring manager. Like, okay, I don't have work experience with this, but I know this stuff, and here are some projects that you can look at the code, you can ask me questions in the interview, and I understand this stuff. And I actually think that this machine learning for beginners is a good kind of starting point to give you ideas of things or little projects that you can create on GitHub that you can put in your portfolio.
I just think as well, I mean, Karina, you say you've got a database experience. One thing that we cover off in one of the videos and in the ML Beginner series, I'll drop some links to this in the chat in a second, but we cover off this idea of the kind of the flow you go through is you start with data. To train a model, you have to have data. And kind of, if you've got that database experience, you're already used to working with data. You're already used to structuring data. You say SQL experience, that's relational databases. You've got an awareness and understanding of data. So if you're building these kind of sample projects, a good thing to do is kind of leverage that data skill that you've got. Start with some data science. Start with working out how to pull the data out of what data the data source that manipulate that data, and then run some machine learning on it. You look at the skills you've got. So when you go to a job, you're not saying, I did this and now I'm doing something completely unrelated, please give me a job. You're saying, this is the progression of my journey. I came from the data background. I then looked at how I could then apply that data to machine learning. And this is why I want to get into like a machine learning AI type role. I mentioned this yesterday. I do a lot of Internet of Things work. And as an IoT engineer, data scientists and machine learning engineers are your best friends, because I am generating ridiculous amounts of data from these IoT devices. I need someone to tell me how to store that data and how to get the right data and clean the data. So, I'm not just producing noise, so that then the data can go to a machine learning engineer like Bea, who can build the models that can then be used to stop my machine breaking, things like that. So it's, I would come into a lot of the machine learning from a point of view of, I'm used to generating data. How do I use this data to optimize my IoT device? So maybe the same kind of thing. Think about the data skills you've got already, and then how do you leverage that to build the machine learning models?
Totally. Yeah. I think it's a great transition.
Yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of machine learning happening in database. There's a lot of kind of streaming work as well. As data comes in, can we analyze it on the fly through various streaming analytics tools, running machine learning models? Yeah. Again, thinking about my background, Internet of Things, anomaly detection is an absolutely massive area. Your machine is supposed to do this, but if it does that, you need to stop it. And so you measure the vibration, and as soon as the vibration pattern changes, you need to be alerted. And so you're sending the data, you stream the data through to storage, you put an anomaly detector on the data stream so you can catch when it starts doing that and stop it. But then as you're gathering data, you're storing that data so someone like Bea can constantly improve the model that gets fed back and applied back to the streaming data. So cool. Yeah. So Karina confirms it's a 3-hour drive to Portland, so I was an hour out.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little longer. Yeah.
A little longer. So Eswin Paul's joining us from India. Apoorv rated. Almost forgot about this. Joining from Toronto. Marcelo from Sevilla.net user group in Spain. Richard from the UK. Hello. Sion Michael from Lagos joining us again. So I'm just going to drop some links in the chat, and then we'll take this question from Mark. So what we're talking about here, if you haven't come across the stuff we're talking about, I'm just going to drop the links in the chat. So this whole series, we released a series of videos based off our machine learning for beginners curricula. So this curricula, it's 26 lessons. It's designed to be taught like a 12-week university course. It's fully open source. It's free to use. Anyone can use this to learn machine learning. We've got quizzes, we've got exercises, hands-on as well. So you get actually start building notebooks, and all done based around classical machine learning. And the particular thing here is machine learning around the world. So it covers things from North American pumpkin prices to Asian cuisines, Nigerian music tastes, hotels of Europe, and power stories, a whole lot of cool stuff here. A lot of stuff that you can then use to learn machine learning. And then we released a video series. Bea did all the hard work. She's the star of the show. We released 4 videos on Monday. We've got 5 more coming next week on Monday, more coming the week after. So it's got a video version of the course. So if you prefer learning in video, we have the videos. If you want to work through the code, and we highly recommend you do, even if you watch the videos, the code is all here. I'm just going to drop a link to the videos as well for those who haven't seen these.
Yeah, and I really do encourage you to do both the videos and the GitHub project and code, because they really are complementary, right? Like the videos are like intended to help you understand the content that is written in the GitHub project a little bit better, and which is intended to get you to work through the notebooks on your own, right? So it's all like a little ecosystem of learning material that goes well together.
I mean, the videos kind of help that you can absorb the content wherever you are. You know, if I think back a number of years, I used to catch a train to work, to catch a train, then the tube, go to work, and then the tube and the train. Yeah, on the tube you can't do much, kind of like that on the tube. So I could watch the videos on the tube, and then on the train, if I get a seat, I get my laptop out and I can work through the notebooks. So it's kind of just a great way for you to have, wherever you are in the world. If you're on a plane, you don't have internet, you download the videos beforehand maybe and watch them, whatever.
Yep.
So trying to make it available the way we can. So Mark has a question, and that's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions. Mark asks, how can you break from previous line of computer work and insist on being placed in a machine learning oriented opportunity?
So, Mark, I was in that situation a few years ago. So I started getting really interested in machine learning on the side. Like I was doing my normal job as a software engineer during the day in a different area. And I really was fascinated with machine learning. So I was like dedicating my nights and weekends to learning more, to taking every course I could find online, to just like doing little projects on my own and whatever. And I got to a point where I realized that I was having so much more fun doing that than my regular job. So in my particular case, I actually decided to just stop working and go back to grad school. So it's not everybody's path, but I'll tell you my path and I'll give you alternative paths. So in my case, I just decided I'm just going to apply to grad school at the University of Washington, which is here in Seattle, and just study this really from scratch. Not from scratch because I already knew some things, but like really get the foundational concepts and everything. And so I did that. And then after grad school, then it was a lot easier to find a job in the area because at that point I had grad school and I had a lot of projects that I could point people to. And so it wasn't like as difficult as it would have been without grad school. Now, one thing you might think about is like nobody that is like older than, I don't know, 30 has studied this in school, generally speaking. Like back then, I took an AI class, but it wasn't machine learning when I went when I did my undergrad in computer science, and because like machine learning wasn't really a thing back then, right? So anybody, and you see lots of people that are any age that are working in machine learning, and most of those people didn't actually learn it in school because they're older than that 30 or whatever age, right? And so I think what those people have done is they picked it up on their own, and they positioned themselves through, as I was saying, by creating projects and whatever, and kind of putting their name out there in the field, and then position themselves as machine learning people when they're applying for jobs. But I think it's important to have a few projects under your belt before you do that, right? Because if you're going to be hired as in an ML role, there are certain expectations, certain things you're going to need to do. And that's why I think that all these online courses that have been popping up are important, because that's kind of how you can build your knowledge to then be able to have all these like projects that you can show off when you're getting hired. So there are many ways. other people like Jim, it's 3 reorgs, like you work in a team. And ML is a hot area right now, and we need more people. And if companies look at their at their people, and they're like, we need more people, so we're just going to be like allocating this person and that person, they're going to be doing ML now because that's what we need, right? And so you can also position yourself like that if you're working in a different field within a company, another doing software programming, I don't know, in some area. You can just voice that to your manager, like, hey, if there's an AI opening, I really want to be the one who fills it, and I really want to be the one learning that area, right? So because sometimes I feel, at least within Microsoft, I feel like there's more opportunities than people to do the work in ML, right? So anybody who says, hey, I think I'd like to do ML, people are like, great, let's put you in this team and let's get you started. Let's help you learn, right? So it's just a really hot area to be in, to work on right now, and I really think there's an opportunity for everybody.
I think one thing there, just one of the points you made about having a good portfolio, it's it's a hot area, but the more choice you want to have in the role, the more you want to be able to choose the roles you want. That you, to get to that point, you have to have this good portfolio, because if you're going for, I mean, it's the same kind of with any kind of tech career. When you're going for a job, you are competing against a number of other people. And so the best jobs will have a lot of people competing, especially the hot companies right now. Imagine if OpenAI puts any job ads up, there's gonna be a bajillion people applying, because OpenAI, it's the new hotness, to quote Men in Black. So you've got to kind of set yourself above other people, which is where things like good projects can do that. Hey, manager of another team in my company, I want to come and join you for ML work. Here is all the ML things that I've done in the past, puts you in good stead. Whereas if you go, I'm interested in ML, I've done nothing, and they've got 10 other people who are applying who've got the projects in place, got the experience, you're going to be far down the list.
Yeah. I also extend this advice to students, because I also I mentor a lot of college students, and I also get that from them a lot. Like, they're like, I took a machine learning class and a deep learning class. Like, is that enough for me to get a job in ML? And once again, as somebody who goes through resumes, and I'm, sometimes hiring, and finding people to get it to interview, the thing that stands out to me in a student is if they make it very clear in their resume that not only they took the classes, because quite frankly, everybody takes those classes these days. Anybody graduating from computer science will take a machine learning and a deep learning class. What I want to see is, again, those projects, right? Like somebody saying, yeah, I took all this class, I took machine learning, I took deep learning, I also took whatever, all these other things, but machine learning is really what I'm interested in. And here's my portfolio in machine learning. Here are some projects that I did for my classes and some things I've done. So it's also like that passion, that interest that I look for when I'm hiring, right?
Yeah, I mean, a good place to do this as a student is a hackathon. If there's university hackathon happening, go and spend a couple of days building a machine learning project, and make sure you write it up. It's not just about building the projects; it's about writing them up. Any project you do does not exist unless someone can read about it, and it's not just here's the code. It's a good write-up. It's explaining why you built the project, what it does, how it works, the tools you're using, and how someone else can run it. You can build something great, but if someone else can't actually use it, they're not going to see it as a good project. So having that write up, because the number one most important tech skill ever is the ability to communicate. And every discussion I've had on career skills, that ability to communicate is the most important thing. So if you can communicate about your project, if you can write it up, if you can show it off, and then in interview, just geek out about it, show your passion, that will stand you in very good stead. So it's not just about building the code, it's about that communication. It's about a good README, good set of instructions. If you're using notebooks, lots of documentation, things like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, the hiring manager may actually look a little bit at your code. They may not, spend more than a minute on it, but they'll at least look to see, like, does this person write good code, right? So I also would say, don't just write the code, but make sure that it's code that you're proud of, like that somebody looking at it would be like, oh, I know this person writes, clear code, and it's I can read it, I understand what's there. So yeah, so essentially that's your, I don't know, that's really how you present yourself, is like through that kind of portfolio of projects that you would put together.
Cool. So yeah, so Mark, there you go. Get your ML projects, and then just get out there and apply.
Yeah.
So another question about projects, actually, great question from JJ, is are there any other platforms you suggest for portfolios other than GitHub?
Honestly, no. To be really honest, I feel like most action is happening on GitHub right now in terms of code and sharing code. Uh, so that's what people are going to be familiar with. That's what hiring managers are going to be familiar with if you submit your project. So I would really suggest hit GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, blog posts on your own blog or dev.to or Medium are a great way, but there is no other code portfolio platform out there. It is GitHub, and as Patrick says, your project portfolio in GitHub is more important than a resume for technical recruiters nowadays.
I agree with that. Oh, the
Yeah,
other thing I would mention is also Kaggle, right? Like Kaggle competitions. They put out all these competitions, or they provide the data, and then they kind of launch a challenge. And that's also something actually quite nice to have on your resume. It's like, hey, I won a Kaggle challenge. So yeah, just another idea for things for you guys to do.
link in the chat to that.
I believe that's owned by Google. Yeah, it is, right? Yeah, registered with Google. Yeah.
Registered with Google. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no, you recommended a Google thing. we're all friends here. We're all friends in the
It's
DevRel world. You know,
I mean,
it's
really, we're here to help you guys. We're not
yes,
here to sell Microsoft, and Kaggle is a good platform, and we want you guys to know about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just promoting GitHub because Microsoft owns it.
Nope.
It's just the platform. It's where people go.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you're applying for a job, sometimes there'll be fields like, what is your LinkedIn? What is your GitHub?
Right.
So yeah, get yourself on GitHub. And just a quick thing about GitHub as well is think about your front page, your I've forgotten the word for your profile page. Profile page, that's the
Yeah.
thing. You
Yeah.
want to make sure when people land your GitHub page, you've got something nice that tells them about you, and
Totally. I love
highlights your
that
work.
tip.
If you've
Love.
got any big projects, you want to have these projects highlighted. So you want to have something that shows you're doing something. So don't just put it on GitHub, but think about your profile page on GitHub.
Yep.
Cool. More questions. Okay. This is a great question. So Ida says, "How can we, the programmers," that sounds very US government, "we, the programmers, use machine learning to help data analysts and scientists?" So yeah, as end
Yeah.
users, how can we use machine learning?
So there's a couple of different ways to answer this question. Uh, if you mean like how programmers without machine learning knowledge can help data analysts, or how can they kind of work together with them, is like there are many ways to use AI today that doesn't actually necessarily require knowledge of AI, right? So all these new APIs like OpenAI, whatever, like anybody who can write code can, learn the prompt engineering kind of skills that are needed to work with that AI, right? If you're talking about programmers who use machine learning, meaning ML engineers, that's kind of how I interpret it that way, right? Like the programmers who actually know machine learning, then they plug in perfectly with with data scientists, because generally there's like a little pipeline of, you have like your data scientist, and your ML engineer, and then maybe your IT person in the end. But the idea is that the data scientist would generally look at the data, maybe clean the data, maybe understand it, and maybe collect more of it, kind of like they would work with the data, they would visualize the data, they would kind of understand it, and then they would start working on the model. Like they know a lot, really well, like what are the best models for a particular type of data, right? So they would create the model, and then they would pass that to the ML engineers, and the ML engineers also know about models, right? They also know about machine learning. They may refine the model to work better at scale. They may deploy the model. They may add endpoints to the model, and then eventually, they make that ready for production, right? So this is not very well defined, because some companies don't have data scientists and ML engineers. They just have one person doing everything, especially smaller companies. But like traditional, that's what we're seeing, is that there's like data scientists and the ML engineers that have kind of specific skills, and where the data scientists will pass their work to the ML engineers, who then put it into production.
So again, it's collaboration, isn't it? That's really the
Yeah.
single answer. It's we can help them by collaborating with them, understand their problems, and trying to solve them.
Yeah.
Cool. Sudansu asked the question: is this available in Julia? We touched a bit on Julia yesterday, didn't we? So do you want to
Yeah,
talk a
we
bit
did.
about Julia?
Yeah, Julia is a really kind of upcoming hot language, I would say, that has started. I've seen it being used in academia environments. Like people in academia really love it. It solves a bunch of problems that people sometimes get frustrated with Python. So it's a great language, but I haven't yet seen it in the industry, to be really honest with you, right? So I haven't yet seen like Julia Love from like production projects, right? So no, this the particular like ML for beginners is not, we're not providing it in Julia, but if we see it become more kind of popular in the industry, it's something that we would for sure look into. I've been watching Julia closely because I think it has a lot of potential. So, and you know, you see there like in their homepage, they say right away fast. It is a very fast language.
Because it's compiles down, doesn't it, to LLVM
Yeah.
bytecode. So whereas Python's kind of more it's interpreted language, isn't it? So it's not compiled down. You don't get advantage of just the raw performance of the machine.
Yeah, and even like there's a bunch of like language features that are very nice in Julia. Maybe we'll do another video on Julia. But yeah, so this is not available in Julia, but we're watching it. And if it becomes hot, we'll make it available in Julia.
What I will say, however, is ML for Beginners is MIT licensed. It's fully open source. We wrote it originally in Python, and if I scroll down here, some of the lessons are available in R, the statistical language R. So if you wanted it in Julia, then please start a discussion about it on the ML for Beginners repo.
Or better yet.
And then I was about to lead on to what you're about to say. Go for it.
Oh, better yet, submit a PR and we'll take it. You know, if you're willing to. That's actually something you could put in your resume. Like if you're looking to transition into machine learning, it's like, hey, you know, I created all the Julia notebooks for this ML for beginners content, which has 9.8K forks and 48K stars, you know, and they took it, you know, they looked at my code and they took it, they liked it. And now a lot of people are using it to learn machine learning, right? So that's a great idea of a contribution that somebody could make.
Yeah. And just to say about the stars, 48,000 stars, that's more than Julia. I actually looked this up. This is, I think, the 172nd most popular GitHub repo by stars across the entirety of GitHub.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It's
wow.
Yeah. It's like in the top 10 for Microsoft and the top 200 for the entirety of GitHub. So at Home with the Vet asked the question, can you share the link to GitHub? Yep. I'm just going to drop it in the chat for you. And I'll just get up on screen. So yeah. That's the link to GitHub. So it's fully open source. You can take it, do what you like. If you're a teacher watching this and you want to teach this content in your class, go for it. It's there for you to use. We've tried to divide it up in a way that matches to kind of a standard semester. If you want help and guidance, teach it in a class, just reach out. Probably the discussions. There are discussions in the repo. So jump on there and we can help you get this going in the classroom as well. There have been a number of universities that have taught using this content, but you don't have to teach it as is. You can literally steal just the bits you want and teach those bits. It's entirely up to you. That's why we MIT licensed this. There's no rules. I think the only rule about this is you can't patent anything that's in here, but there's nothing that's patentable anyway. And actually a question from Marek G about this. Do you need Azure access for ML for beginners?
No, this is totally not Microsoft specific content. This is really like what you would learn at a university if you took a machine learning class, basically, or similar to that. I guess every university teaches it a little differently, but it's not. It does not require Azure, and it doesn't have any Microsoft specific technology.
I mean, literally, if you wanted to avoid everything Microsoft, the only Microsoft thing you'd have to do is to go onto this GitHub repo and clone it. Yeah, we've got it set up to run in Visual Studio Code using Jupyter Notebooks, but you can run those locally if you wanted to. If you want to run it in Azure Machine Learning, Yes, you can take the notebooks and you can run it there. It's probably a bit overkill and very expensive, but no, you don't need that. We wanted to teach those fundamental concepts.
Yeah.
There are some activities around that if you wanted to. So, for example, if you wanted to build a web app, so there is actually an activity, a lesson here where you build a web app using the model that you've done. And then if you wanted to deploy that to the cloud, we do have guidance on how you can deploy that to Azure, but only if you want to. Yeah, this is kind of that application developer, end user building something that uses the libraries that are there. But you totally don't have to do that. And there is guidance if you want to deploy to Azure ML. But again, you just don't have to. Cool. Okay, there's a lot of questions here. Okay, great one from Pablo. Actually, this is a good one. I've been working on security with Sentinel and Defender, which are two. Well, Microsoft Defender is a Microsoft product. I think Sentinel is one of ours, Azure Sentinel. So, how can I improve security with ML? Do you have examples for it? Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know that I can answer this question. I'm not aware of any examples that we have for. I'm sure we do. I'm just not aware of them.
There is. So one example of it, it's not machine learning. It is more on the AI side of the fence. But you can drop code into ChatGPT and ask it to find any security holes. So that's kind of a thing you can do. And I mean, ML is being used for this. So GitHub has a whole lot of security scans in place. So when you're actually doing things, I don't know if is it this tab? But when you build your code, you can run various security scans. Nope, that's not, it's just a Microsoft tab. You can run various security scans against your code, and that runs machine learning models and AI models to kind of do this. So there is interest in this area, using machine learning to kind of analyze your code to look for known vulnerabilities, to look for potential vulnerabilities. And there are kind of red teams who use ML to try and attack as much surface area as possible. But yeah, if B doesn't know about it, I certainly don't know anything about it.
No, this is actually a good question at a high level, because there's a lot, like machine learning is applied to everything, right? Like these days, there's just not a single field that doesn't have some sort of application for machine learning, right? And you have a lot of people that come out of university that are being trained to know machine learning. They come from computer science or math degrees that know the machine learning, but they don't understand the application of the machine learning, right? If you need to apply it to a healthcare application, you better have a doctor or somebody who understands healthcare working with you, right? And so what I've been seeing now, that the people who are like most in demand are people who are in all these different fields, like let's say a doctor who actually learns a little bit of machine learning, or a linguist that understands a little bit of text generation, or those people who are not like necessarily computer science people, but who are like in all these interesting fields, and they kind of branch a little bit to understand enough machine learning to help their field. And those people are actually, quite honestly, better positioned than a CS grad or a CS person to apply machine learning into the field, right? Because at a certain point, like, knowledge of the field is more important than knowledge of AI. Or you can partner with somebody in AI to kind of fill that gap, right? But definitely, like, we can't think of AI in a vacuum anymore. We have to think of it as being applied to all these different areas, security being one of them.
I think another area which I think we should touch on, it covers it a little bit ML for beginners. We didn't cover it in any of our short videos because it's actually a huge topic, is the concept of responsible AI. And this, B, you're saying about if you're doing AI in the medical field, you want a doctor there, because you need to think about, how do I build AI models with the right data? I'm not introducing any kind of bias in my data. And then how do I use my AI in a responsible way that is of benefit to humanity and not of negative? It's not negative against humanity. It's not a bad thing. Yes, we joke about the Terminator and Skynet becoming sentient and destroying the world, whatever. But there's been so many examples of AI doing bad things, whether it's facial recognition being terrible with Black people, for example, and then the wrong people being arrested. AI being used to kind of discriminate against groups of people. We need to be responsible. So Yeah, B, do you want to talk about that? Really, you are
Yeah,
more of an expert on this area than I am.
yeah. So like if you've watched or read the history of AI section or history of ML here, like it always makes me wonder when I'm reading history, like, so what is, 20, 30 years from now, what are people going to be writing about the time that I live in right now, right? And what I think people are going to be writing.
Okay, sorry, I think B has frozen. Okay, I don't know. Not sure whether it's me. It looks like I'm still online, and B has frozen. So, can you jump in the chat to say whether you can hear me? Because I'm not sure whether that's me or B. So if you can still hear me, can someone say hello in the chat? We can hear. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. So it's just B that's dropped off. Okay. So while we wait for B to come back, she has frozen. And she's dropped off. I guess internet issues. So yeah, I'm not gonna dive into responsible AI. It's very important. I think we cover this. I'll wait for B to get back, as she is the expert. So I will take some of the questions that we've got here that that I can answer, and then when B gets back online and says she's the expert, she can help those. So Wiser Everyday says, in this course, I can teach about deploying ML models. I find that most courses don't do that. Not really. The reason being is a lot of deployment of these models is very much platform specific. So we do talk about it a little bit in the GitHub repo. I'm not sure we've covered any of our videos yet, but we have this idea of deploying a web app where you take a model and deploy it inside a Flask app, and then it's just kind of deployed inside a web app. But a lot of time when you're deploying things like machine learning models, you would use some form of ML ops type platform. And there's a lot of different ones. They can be very expensive to use. And so we try and avoid that in this course. This course is all about teaching those basic fundamental principles of machine learning. But I mean, things like Azure Machine Learning, for example, is a whole platform where you can do this, where you can train models in the cloud. You start off locally, you start off using your notebooks locally, using small amounts of data. As your data volume grows, you want farms of GPUs. You can use things like Azure ML, where you chuck the data from the cloud, spin up a whole farm of GPUs, train your model, and then you can deploy it. But you basically containerize it and deploy it as Docker containers, and then you just have that available to run on the various different platforms. So yeah, we don't touch that. If you want some content on this, I will. Let me just grab course for you. So if I go Azure ML, I go. This is just not one that just. I'm trying to find a good. Here we go. I think this is a good path. Yeah, so let me drop this in. I will drop this in the chat for you, Wiser Everyday. So this is some online learning around Azure ML, and that kind of gets you training, deploying, managing. So you go through what it is, train a model, work with data, work with compute, build up your pipelines, and then deploy. So that kind of goes through the whole process. It's a few hours worth of online training, and we give you sandbox access. This one shouldn't cost you anything. You get a sandbox to get this all set up. So yeah, okay. I hope that helps. So B's really the expert. It's really a shame she's lost internet or dropped off, computer crash, whatever it is. She's really the expert. So Mark asks, couldn't Medium or Similar be a better location for providing a document if you want to communicate conceptual understanding of ML rather than code or in sites such as GitHub? So this is kind of going back to our discussion around how you can kind of get your portfolio forward. So yes, I mean, a blog is a good thing. If you can blog about what you're doing, if you can write blog posts on Medium or dev.to or your own blog, then yes, that is a good way of communicating your understanding. But if you're applying for a technical job if you're applying for a job where you are an engineer, then people are going to want to see your code. I mean, yes, great to have blog posts, but it's always good to back that up with the code on GitHub. So yeah, if I was a hiring manager and I was employing a machine learning engineer, then a blog post might be great, but I would want to see that there's not just a theoretical understanding, it is an actual engineering level understanding. So I've got stuff that's written. I mean, I'm a big fan of blog. I've got my own blog. I write blog posts there, but usually they tie back to code, and you can actually go back to my code, and I've got the code there. So yeah, engineering managers, hiring managers in the engineering space, we want to see your coding. So conception is good. Write those blog posts, definitely. Having blog posts as part of your portfolio is never a bad thing, but actually having your code up on GitHub is going to be a good thing to do as well. So always good to have both. The more you've got, the more you can kind of put in your portfolio, the better. So I've got like my own website, and I've got a blog on there. I've got links to my GitHub with all my code on there. I've got videos on there, links to that, my YouTube channel. The more content you can create, the more you can put across, the better. It'll put you in a much better stead the more you've got. But yes, the code, the GitHub side is kind of the most important part of it, really. And I think it was Patrick who said this earlier. Your portfolio's GitHub is more important than a resume for technical recruiters. People want to see that in GitHub. And Bea's back.
Sorry, internet went down in my little
I wasn't
area.
sure whether it was me or not. You just froze. I couldn't sure it was me or not. So
Sorry.
I had to ask the audience, and they all very kindly jumped in to say, "Yep, it's you. You've dropped off. It's not just me." So
yeah, sorry, I'm back.
She's back. Yes, we're talking responsible AI.
Okay. Yeah, hugely important area.
Yeah, let me guess. You completely lost your train of thought because you don't know what happened when the internet.
Yeah. Well, I think what I was going to say is that I think that when we look back at the times that we're living right now, like 20 years from now, I think we're going to remember these times as a time of where we all realize, oh, we have to do this responsibly. Like we can't just put out models that do whatever out there. Like we actually have to think about the social implications of them. And I think that there's a lot of people, like some of them smartest people at Microsoft are assigned to this task. And I know that other companies are doing the same. To really prevent bad things to happen with AI, right? Which we all know is possible.
Yeah, I saw a news thing that in the US, the president has called together like the top bods at Microsoft and Google and a few other places to actually talk about AI. And the FTC, Federal Trade Commission in the US, is starting to put out lots of thoughts on the use of AI. And some of the biggest things are you can't lie about what it can do. And you have to support all your consumers equally. And if you don't, the FTC will shut you down. And that's kind of just the start of government level frameworks around doing the right thing.
Exactly.
I mean,
and I think,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we at Microsoft actually welcome those kinds of things. I have heard people, people within Microsoft execs within Microsoft even calling for that before it even happened. Like we need to have more regulation, and it can't be just a free for all, right?
Yeah, because I mean, some of our products we've actually dropped. We built things, and then we realized they were not the best things, so we've stopped doing them. And we actually even stopped selling things to certain people a while ago. I think the first one was we stopped selling facial recognition to any law enforcement or military.
Right.
Because it was being used in the wrong way. And so, yeah, we've cut back a lot of the things we built because we thought, oh, this is a fun thing we can build. And then with hindsight, it's like, no, there are harms we can cause with this.
Exactly.
Even simple things like we built something that genders people. And some people, if it misgenders you, that can be very offensive. So why would you build it? Why do you even need this thing? It serves no purpose, but it can cause offense. So let's get rid of it, doesn't it? And even when we think about things that might serve a purpose, facial recognition could be great for those you walk up to a camera and the door opens type situations. But if you're using it to find people and you're finding the wrong people, it's a bad thing. I really like the facial recognition they do for passports at airports. Like some of the airports in the UK, you can slide your passport in, look at the camera, and it recognizes you. And the way it recognizes you is behind the screen. There's a holder of people seeing what's on the camera and what's coming through the passport scan, and they're manually verifying that you're the same person. That's how you do it right.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
Cool. Marek G says, I wish ChatGPT had voice input.
Okay, so that leads into another very interesting topic, which is models are becoming multimodal these
Mhm.
days. So it is a very hot area of research. Like if you're keeping up with the research, you see that, lots of papers are coming out about that. I don't think it has quite made the jump to the industry, but I think it's a matter of weeks, not months. Yeah. And so I think your wish may actually be fulfilled like pretty soon. I don't know. I don't have any insider knowledge on this. I'm just saying, like, that's the direction the, the industry is going.
But I think one of the cool things that as we were talking about this yesterday, that I'm not a machine learning person. I can't really build the models, but I've got a lot of experience of using models to do things. So
Right.
I'm the end user. And what's really cool, kind of the big rise of AI at the moment, is the kind of the one line of code to do the thing. So I'm going to drop a GitHub repo in here. So I've built my own version of ChatGPT. It uses the OpenAI services behind the scenes, but just the concept of the chat where you ask questions, you get an answer, you ask a follow-up question, get an answer. So I've kind of built my own version of that using the OpenAI services and a tool called Semantic Kernel, which is like one of these new tools to help work with these generative AI models. But I've also got speech to text and text to speech built in. So you can, if you spin up an Azure Cognitive Services speech resource, drop in the keys for that, in only a few lines of code, you've got the ability to ask questions and have that conversation with ChatGPT. It doesn't have a
Yes.
huge memory. You can adjust the memory size to suit, but you're still limited to like 8,000 tokens in your memory, which is what 15 to 20,000 characters worth of text. So you can't have like a 4-hour conversation with it, but you ask it 4 or 5 questions in a row, and it has the context of the previous answer, the previous question, previous answer for the next question. So yes, you can build your own voice input by throwing together, throwing together a number of these different tools.
That is a really good point. Yes, it doesn't have to be built into the model. You can build it yourself around it. Yeah, very,
That's
very
one
good
of the
point.
things we're seeing. There's a
Yeah,
lot of these very specific models that do one thing, and they do
yeah,
that one thing well, because we don't know what people are going to build with it.
right.
If there ever is a voice version of ChatGPT, it's not going to be probably built into the ChatGPT model. It's going to be multiple models coming together to get to this end goal. And as it's going back to the idea of building a cool portfolio, one way to show off your skills is, can I connect different models together to do different things?
Yeah, this is actually a really good idea. Like looking at Jim's code and seeing if that inspires you for your own project that can go into your portfolio, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of projects in my GitHub repo, so have
Yeah.
a nose. There's some fun ones. The very first ML one I built was using a thing called Custom Vision. It's like a Microsoft AI platform to you give it things and it can identify them, and I use it to help me identify my daughter's cuddly toys. There's so many fun things you can build where you either just use APIs from other people, or you start with that and then maybe build your own. Actually, kind of dive into it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Totally.
so Zaviva has a question.
All right.
Okay, I recently finished programming in Python, beginner's guide. We learned every
Nice.
basic thing, including object-oriented programming and file. Now I'm learning Flask and Django. What should I learn next? I'm thinking machine learning for beginners could be a good way to learn next.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you have a very strong Python foundation. You're totally ready for this one. If AI interests you, right?
I mean, I'm guessing machine learning probably does, Zavivia. Well, that's why you're here.
There you go. So you're ready, Olivia.
Yeah,
You have what it takes to
yeah,
follow
because I mean,
along.
the stuff covered in ML for beginners, it doesn't use too much advanced Python, does it? But it's
No.
all about the libraries. So yeah, scikit-learn, matplotlib, NumPy. So start with this, as this is a good way to actually use those Python skills you've got to build machine learning models and classify pumpkins and Nigerian music and all that kind of cool stuff. And then if you want to dive deeper, it's learning those libraries. It's learning scikit-learn, learning NumPy, learning
Yeah,
pandas and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of, machine learning is the area you're interested in. It's get to know those libraries, get to know those tools.
totally.
Cool. We're almost out of time. Almost out of time. So there's a lot of questions here. We are not going to get through all these questions, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Next week we have
Next week.
two more
Next week. Yeah,
hours.
so we'll be back next week. If you haven't signed up for the series, we'll get a link dropped to the chat for the whole series. But this is part of a whole big series. So next week, Monday, we are dropping 5 more videos in our original series. So we've got the 4 introduction. Next week videos, we get into regression. So the videos next week to be hands-on. You actually see code being run in Jupyter notebooks. And we highly recommend that you follow along. You work through their code in the repo as well. Follow along, spin up your notebooks, actually see it in action. It's kind of the best way to learn. And then we'll be back next Thursday, same time, where we will be kind of diving into the regression and answering questions. And then next Friday, again, will be kind of an open Q&A where we will be diving in more to anything we haven't covered and answering more of your questions. So come back next Thursday with all the questions. Sorry we couldn't get to everything. There was just way too much to answer in the time that we've got. But hopefully what we did cover was useful to everyone. Series links have been dropped in the chat, so you can seriously sign up if you haven't already. Otherwise, we'll see you all on Thursday next week, or Friday, depending where in the world you are. But yeah, we'll see you next week, and we're Karen talking about ML for beginners. But otherwise, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Bea. This was a lot of fun. See you all next week.
Thank you. Bye.